Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're diving deep into just four words. Four words that ended up becoming one of the most powerful and, let's be honest, polarizing slogans in modern politics.
So how did this happen? How did these four words come to define a whole political era? We're going to trace the journey of this slogan, and it's a journey you think you know, but I bet there are some surprises. We'll dig into its little-known origins and see how it went from a political catchphrase to a global phenomenon.
All right, first things first. To really get a grip on its power, let's start with the here and now. We have to talk about the moment this phrase just exploded onto the scene and became, well, pretty much inescapable.
For Donald Trump's presidential campaigns in 2016, 2020, and even 2024, this slogan was everything. It was the absolute centerpiece. You saw it everywhere, right? On all the merch, repeated in every speech, chanted at rally after rally. It basically became one and the same with his political brand.
And it happened fast. It went from just a catchphrase to something bigger. The acronym, MAGA, it became this shorthand for a whole political identity. It wasn't just about the slogan anymore. It was used to talk about Trump's ideology, his base, the whole movement itself.
Okay, so here's where things get really interesting. Where did this phrase actually come from? If you're thinking it was brand new in 2015, well, the real story might just surprise you.
Turns out, this slogan wasn't a new invention at all. Nope, it's actually a recycled piece of American political history. And here's the kicker. It had a bipartisan past. We're talking prominent figures from both parties using this exact phrase.
Let's go back to 1980. Ronald Reagan. He used a version of the phrase, "Let's make America great again," during his RNC acceptance speech. The country was dealing with economic anxiety, stagflation, and he used it to tap into this sense of patriotism, calling his campaign a great national crusade. And it didn't stop with Reagan. Get this, more than a decade later, Bill Clinton used the phrase in his own campaign speeches back in '92. It even popped up again in a radio ad for Hillary Clinton in 2008. So yeah, it's really had a journey across the political spectrum. So that brings us to the big question, right? How on earth did a phrase used by both Republicans and Democrats become one of the most divisive symbols out there? Well, this is where the story takes a turn, and the meaning starts to split, dramatically. And of course, you can't talk about the slogan without talking about the hat. The red hat with the white letters. It became the most recognizable symbol of the whole movement. The campaign sold millions, and, hey, according to Trump, there were 10 times more fake ones out there than official ones. It was genius, in a way. It turned supporters into walking billboards. And this is where you really see that deep divide we were talking about. For supporters, that hat is a symbol of patriotism, a positive way to show their political beliefs. But for critics, they see it completely differently. They view it as a loaded phrase or a dog whistle, a coded message that, to them, signals a desire to go back to a time of racism and white supremacy.
And that brings us to this powerful point, made by critics like the actor Bryan Cranston. He basically asks, when you say "Make America Great Again" from an African-American perspective, when exactly was that great period? It's a question that really gets to the heart of the criticism, challenging the whole idea of a romanticized American past.
But the story doesn't end in the US. Not even close. The slogan's influence went global. Its simple four-word structure turned out to be this incredibly effective template that people all over the world started to use.
Almost right away, it became this thing. People all over the globe, whether they supported Trump or opposed him, started making their own versions. We saw it used for parody, for protest, and even co-opted for other political campaigns. Probably one of the most famous parodies was "Make Donald Trump Again." You might remember this from John Oliver's show Last Week Tonight. He dug up the Trump family's ancestral name, Drumpf, and it just took off. The segment went totally viral, and the hats he made sold out like immediately.
And it wasn't just comedians. World leaders jumped in too. Remember when the US pulled out of the Paris Agreement? Well, French President Emmanuel Macron had this really clever response. He adapted the slogan to say, "Make our planet great again," a direct shot repurposed as an environmental call to action.
And then you had straight-up co-option. I'm talking about other politicians directly lifting the phrase for their own campaigns. A huge example is Javier Milei in Argentina. He ran a successful presidential campaign in 2023 using the slogan, "Make Argentina Great Again." He was very open about it, a real admirer of Trump's style.
And look at this, the spread was just remarkable. Make Indonesia great again, make Spain great again, make India great again. We even saw creative twists like make EU lagom again in Sweden. It just goes to show how that four-word structure was this incredibly potent and adaptable formula for political messaging, no matter where you were in the world.
Okay, so we've looked at the history, the symbolism, the way it went global. What does it all mean? What can we really take away from the wild journey of these four little words?
You know, when you boil it all down, the slogan's real power seems to lie in how vague it is. It's like a blank canvas. It lets voters project whatever they want onto it. For one person, great means bringing back factory jobs. For someone else, it might mean a return to a certain social hierarchy. It allows everyone to paint their own picture of a better past, their own hopes, and even their own resentments right onto those four words.
So in the end, the story of Make America Great Again is so much bigger than just one slogan or one campaign. It really leaves us with this huge question about how language shapes our reality. What's that secret sauce that makes a political slogan stick? What makes it powerful enough to not just win an election, but to define an entire era?